Europe's car industry isn't just in trouble, it's collapsing in real time. Stellantis is preparing to shut down 15 factories. Volkswagen is halting production in Germany for the first time in 87 years. Nissan has lost nearly half of its European sales in one quarter. And Ford has quietly abandoned passenger cars altogether. If that sounds bad, here's the real shock. This is no downturn. This is an extinction event. Brands once thought untouchable are now surviving on life support. Executives are dumping shares behind closed doors. Hundreds of dealerships are locking their doors for good. And leaked internal documents paint a picture so bleak it looks like the final funeral march of Europe's automotive era. Hold on tight, because today we're breaking down the 9 car brands that are likely to disappear before 2026. Before we dive in, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a video that could change the way you choose your next car. The truth is, the European car market isn't just losing momentum, it's spiraling out of control. Registrations for new vehicles have collapsed by 18% compared to pre-pandemic levels. But even that number hides the real disaster unfolding underneath. Chinese manufacturers now command 11% of Europe's EV market, and that share is climbing every single quarter. At the same time, production costs have exploded by more than 40%, while consumer demand has completely stalled. The average European is keeping their car for 12 years, up from 8 just a decade ago. Not by choice, but because new cars are simply out of reach for most people. And then there's the EU's 2025 emissions rules, a financial shockwave forcing automakers to pour billions into electric vehicles that, let's be honest, most Europeans aren't yet ready or willing to buy. Put all of this together, and the outcome is unavoidable. A tidal wave of bankruptcies, shuttered factories, collapsing dealer networks, and emergency mergers that will permanently rewrite the European automotive landscape. And that brings us to the brands running out of time. Today, we're counting down 9 automakers standing on the edge, and some of them won't make it to 2026. Let's begin with number 9, DS Automobiles, a French luxury experiment that, frankly, no one was asking for. Stellantis introduced DS with ambitions of standing shoulder to shoulder with BMW and Mercedes. But the truth is far less glamorous. The brand has become a financial black hole. In 2024, DS managed to sell only 41,000 cars across the entire European continent. To put that into perspective, BMW moves the same number of 3 Series units in just 2 months. And the situation at the dealership level is even more alarming. The average DS showroom sells 18 cars a month, when they need nearly 3 times that amount just to break even. Leaked internal reports from Stellantis reveal something even more troubling. DS loses 4,200 on every single car sold once marketing and R&D are factored in. Dealers themselves admit the brand is technically dead, lingering on only because no one has bothered to bury it yet. And behind the scenes, the writing is already on the wall. Stellantis executives have quietly indicated that by mid-2026, DS won't exist as a standalone marque at all. It will be absorbed into Citroën, reduced to nothing more than a trim package rather than a full-fledged brand. In other words, DS isn't going to survive. It's being downgraded into nothing more than a trim package. So let's move on to number 8. Lancia, a brand many now call the ghost of Italy. Lancia hasn't produced a successful model since the 1990s, and in 2024 their entire sales figure, 38,000 units, came from one single car, the aging Ypsilon, a vehicle that is essentially a Fiat wearing a different badge. Outside of Italy, the brand is completely invisible. Inside Italy, it's barely hanging on. Their latest attempt at a comeback, the new electric Ypsilon, has been a disaster, selling roughly 200 units a month. For comparison, Mercedes sells that many A-Class models every single day. And when you consider the rest of the equation, only 160 dealers remain, all of them sharing space inside Fiat showrooms, while Stellantis tries to manage 14 different brands at once. The conclusion is unavoidable. Lancia is on borrowed time. No market position, no meaningful customer base, and absolutely no path forward. By 2026, the brand will almost certainly fade into history. Dropping down to number 7, and yes, this one may surprise you, we're talking about Infiniti, a brand that never truly fit into the European landscape. Infiniti already retreated from Europe back in 2019, yet Nissan now believes they can resurrect it as an EV-focused luxury division. But here's the harsh reality. The brand is radioactive in this market. In 2024, Infiniti sold fewer than 400 vehicles across the entire continent, all while incinerating $50 million a year just to keep operations running. Nissan's plan to reboot Infiniti as a premium electric brand by 2026 isn't ambitious, it's delusional. Infiniti has no functioning dealer network, no customer loyalty, and no remaining influence in Europe. The brand has already collapsed once in China, and it has lost 35% of its market share in the United States, its last major foothold. And when you connect all the dots, the conclusion becomes painfully obvious. Infiniti's global presence is disintegrating. By 2026, the brand will likely survive only in parts of the Middle East, and even then, merely as a badge slapped onto rebadged EVs that buyers never asked for in the first place. Infiniti isn't declining, it's disappearing. Coming in at number 6, we have a brand that car enthusiasts adore and accountants absolutely dread: Alfa Romeo. Few names in the automotive world inspire as much passion or as much frustration. Alfa builds some of the most beautiful, best-handling cars on the road, yet their sales story is nothing short of tragic. In 2024, Alfa managed to sell only 48,000 vehicles across all of Europe. To put that in perspective, the Giulia and Stelvio, their flagship sedan and SUV, sold fewer units in an entire year than BMW sells in just 3 weeks. And even the Tonale, the crossover that was supposed to revive the brand, is barely moving 1,100 units a month. That's less than 1/10 of what Mazda moves with the CX-5. Stellantis once announced a massive $30 billion investment to electrify Alfa Romeo's lineup. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Less than $2 billion has actually been spent. Everything else has been delayed, trimmed down, or quietly cancelled. Meanwhile, dealerships are shutting their doors, and the entire retail network is falling apart. Industry analysts, the ones who aren't sugarcoating anything, agree on one thing. Alfa Romeo, as an independent brand, is on its last breath. By 2026, Alfa is expected to be absorbed into Maserati or Jeep. The name may survive on a badge, but the Alfa Romeo that enthusiasts know, the soulful standalone brand, is essentially finished. At number 5, we reach a brand that many people want to root for, but one that seems determined to destroy itself: Jaguar. Few automakers have executed a more dramatic act of corporate self-sabotage. Jaguar has chosen to discontinue every single model in its current lineup and transition to an all-electric range by 2026, with starting prices of £100,000 and above. It's a strategy that instantly alienates 95% of their existing customer base. The results are already visible. European sales in 2024 fell to just 31,000 units, down from 78,000 only a few years ago. Dealers are outraged, and for good reason. Jaguar plans to abandon traditional showrooms entirely and operate solely online, with only 50 experience centres across Europe. That decision will leave hundreds of dealerships bankrupt. And when your sister company, Land Rover, begins distancing itself from you, the message couldn't be clearer. The end is near. By 2026, Jaguar is likely to become either a tiny boutique brand struggling to sell 5,000 vehicles a year, or, far more realistically, it may disappear altogether. And if we're being honest, the second outcome looks inevitable. Jaguar isn't transforming, it's collapsing. Dropping to number 4, we reach a brand that's collapsing on both sides of the Atlantic: Maserati. If the European market is on life support, Maserati is the patient whose heartbeat has finally gone flat. For nearly 2 decades, Maserati has tried, again and again, to reinvent itself. But this time, the revival is over. In 2024, the brand sold just 8,200 cars across Europe. To make matters worse, Bentley, a company that charges almost twice as much, outsold them. Their newest SUV, the Grecale, built on the same platform as the Alfa Tonale, carries a price tag of $75,000. Yet it sells at barely 1/10 of the volume of the Porsche Macan. And the depreciation is nothing short of brutal. A 3-year-old Ghibli loses 70% of its value. And even their flagship MC20 supercar has plunged 30% in just 12 months. Stellantis sees the writing on the wall. They've slashed $1.5 billion from Maserati's investment pipeline. And by 2026, Maserati isn't expected to operate as a real automaker at all. Instead, it will be reduced to a styling badge stamped onto special edition Jeeps or Alfa Romeos. The Maserati era, as we know it, isn't fading. It's being erased. Coming in at number 3, we reach Nissan, the final chapter of Japan's long retreat from the European market. And the scale of their collapse is nothing short of extraordinary. Nissan's sales in Europe have fallen off a cliff, dropping from 543,000 units in 2006 to just 247,000 in 2024. Factories have been shut down, R&D facilities have gone dark, and the company has slashed its European footprint by nearly 75%. Behind closed doors, executives now admit the obvious. Nissan is quietly abandoning Europe to focus on China and export markets. The dealer network tells the same story. Nissan once had 2,800 dealerships across Europe. Today, that number has fallen to just over 1,000. And by 2026, only around 400 will remain, most of them selling Chinese-built EVs, wearing a Nissan badge. It marks a symbolic moment, the end of the Japanese automotive era in Europe. Honda has left. Mitsubishi is gone. And now Nissan is walking out the same door. Not with a bang, but with a quiet, controlled withdrawal. And with that, we move into the final 2 brands, the ones facing the most existential pressure of all. At number 2, we arrive at Chrysler, a brand that, for all practical purposes, is a ghost kept on life support. Technically, Chrysler still operates in Europe, but only in the most literal sense. In 2024, the brand sold 187 vehicles, not thousands, not hundreds per month, 187 units in an entire year. What remains of Chrysler's lineup is almost symbolic. The Pacifica minivan and the long-discontinued 300 sedan. And now, Stellantis intends to rebrand a Peugeot 508 as a Chrysler for the European market, a move so absurd it borders on parody. By 2026, Chrysler is expected to lose even the last vestiges of its presence. No showrooms, no lineup, not even a website. The brand is being kept alive for one reason only: to satisfy accounting requirements and emissions credit obligations. Nothing more. And with that, we are down to the final name on this list, the brand facing the most catastrophic reality of them all. And now we reach number 1, the most shocking entry on this entire list, Stellantis itself, the giant that has grown so massive, it can no longer hold its own weight. It sounds unbelievable, but the company that owns half of the brands we've just talked about is standing on the edge of an implosion. Stellantis controls 14 marques, employs 260,000 people, and is dragging behind it an astonishing $39 billion in debt. The empire is collapsing from within. The warning signs are everywhere. Sales in 2024 plunged 27%, and the stock price has been cut almost in half. Behind closed doors, officials inside the European Commission have already acknowledged that they're preparing for a controlled dismantling of Stellantis 2026. Here's what that means in the real world. Peugeot, Citroën, and Opel may survive, but likely under Chinese ownership. Fiat will be absorbed into another division. Jeep and Ram will be pulled back under American control. And much of what remains will simply cease to exist. This isn't just a corporate restructuring. It's the collapse of one of the biggest automotive empires in modern history. Everything outside those few surviving brands will simply disappear. This is the end of an era, the collapse of European car manufacturing as we've known it for over a century. So let's be absolutely clear. This isn't a correction. It's a total systemic failure. By 2026, the European automotive map will look nothing like it does today. Chinese automakers are on track to command 25% of the market. Entire workforces will be wiped out, and the very continent that invented the automobile is now watching the industry. It once dominated fade into history. If you currently own a vehicle from any of the brands on this list, the smartest move is to sell it now, while it still holds value. And if you're employed by one of these automakers, please update your resume. The collapse isn't a future risk. It's already happening. Now I want to hear from you. Which brand do you believe deserves to survive this crisis? And which ones won't make it? Share your thoughts in the comments. And before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. The next automotive domino could fall much sooner than anyone expects. Take care, drive safe, and I'll see you in the next one. If you found this content valuable, don't click away just yet. The next video linked right here will take you even deeper into how car brands are reshaping the game in 2026. Watch it now so you don't miss the trends that actually matter. And if you enjoy insights like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We've got much more coming your way.